The marble heart of Rome chills beneath a storm-heavy sky columns, rising like silent sentinels over blood-washed stone. Somewhere beneath those looming arches, a mother is dragged, her wrists gouged by chains, her feet stumbling on the cold floor, the memory of her child's laughter fading behind her with every echoing step. Her face, once radiant in the warmth of home, is now streaked with grime and fear, her dignity scoured away by the jeers of the crowd that throngs to witness her suffering. Each shout from the mob slices her like a blade. Each torch casts shadows that writhe and crawl across her torn dress. The scent of incense, blood, and sweat churns in the stagnant air, mingling with the coppery tang of humiliation. She can hear the metallic clatter of the soldier's armor, the creak of leather, the distant, pitiless hammering of the judge's mallet. Rome itself becomes a beast, its belly swollen with cruelty, its eyes bright with hunger for pain. Her mind cannot help but flicker back to the softness of a child's cheek, the tender embrace before dusk, the hush of a lullaby whispered into hair that smelled of sunlight. Those memories, her only armor, now crumble beneath the weight of the present. She is forced to her knees, her head bowed not in prayer, but in exhaustion and despair. The stone beneath her is slick with old blood, cold as betrayal. A priest's murmured words slip past her ears, lost beneath the rising chant of justice. She is made to watch, forced to witness the aftermath of the slaughter. The Roman general, shattered by the sight of his son's severed head paraded on a foreign spear, the army broken the father's mourning. She recognizes the agony in Crassus's eyes as he is destroyed before his men. The grief of parenthood, of love twisted into torment, is one she knows too well. She becomes a mirror of his collapse, her own flesh trembling beneath the sentence of power. She is not just a victim, but an unwilling symbol of Rome's cold, unfeeling law, of a world where love is nothing before the spectacle of vengeance. Every cry, every sob, every trembling breath is a prayer unanswered. The torches flicker, casting her shadow tall and thin against the marble, an accusation Rome will never hear. In that pitiless place, her pain is transformed into theater, her motherhood into a spectacle for the amusement of strangers. Her dignity unravels thread by thread beneath the gaze of the crowd and the indifferent gods. And as her final scream shudders through the stone, the lesson is writ in blood. And sorrow in Rome, even a mother's love, is ground beneath the wheels of power. Justice here is a blade that cuts through hope and history alike, leaving only shadows and the echo of loss that no empire can silence. Picture the darkness swallowing the desert's edge, the last Roman column snaking desperately through endless night. Cries and whispers haunt the shifting dunes, each one a prayer for mercy, a gasp from men abandoned, too broken to crawl onward. 4,000 soldiers left to the sands, their wounds weeping beneath the indifference of the stars. Behind the survivors, the Parthian army closes in iron hooves, pounding swords, singing the living, devoured by the night, as the screams of the dying echo across the barren waste. For those who stagger forward, hope is another kind of torment. 2,000 vanish into the black lost, to the howling emptiness, their names erased before dawn. And always just beyond the horizon, the Parthians hunt no rest, no forgiveness. The Roman line thins, a remnant driven by terror, the memory of home already fading, the promise of safety dissolving with every step. When the battered legion reaches Carrhae, the city's stones offer no sanctuary, only a new humiliation, a final ordeal. Crassus, once master of wealth and Roman pride, stands hollow-eyed and trembling, a father haunted by the ghost of his dead son, a general stripped of victory, of command, of dignity. The Parthian general Serena arrives, his gaze cold as obsidian, his voice a dagger sheathed in courtesy. There will be peace, he promises, but only if Rome bows and never dares to cross Parthia again. Crassus refuses, desperation twisting inside him. The whispers of mutiny hiss in his ears. His men, wild-eyed, threaten rebellion. With nothing left to command, Crassus submits, shuffling out beneath the burning gaze of conquerors and traitors alike. The negotiation is a spectacle of mockery. A horse garlanded in blinding gold is led forward, its bridle studded with the wealth that once defined Rome's power. Crassus is forced to mount his dignity, drowned in laughter. Serena's men whip the mare into frenzy. Crassus clings to its back, the beast bucking and shrieking, the crowd's jeers mingling with the rattle of coins and the clatter of armor on stone. The chaos erupts. Swords flash. His guards fall butchered, their blood soaking the earth. Crassus is dragged from the horse, forced to his knees in the dust and blood of his defeat. Hands seize him, iron strong, cold as death. His mouth is pried open. The world narrows to a single blinding pain as molten gold, a mockery of all he once cherished, pours down his throat, hissing, burning, silencing his scream. The crowd's eyes shimmer in the torchlight, reflecting horror and hunger. The scent of scorched flesh mixes with incense and spilled blood swirling in the haunted air. Roman pride dissolves in agony, identity erased in fire and humiliation. Crassus, who once believed himself immortal in gold, becomes a cautionary tale, a monument to loss, a shadow forever echoing down the marble halls of empire. And in that final moment, Rome itself is reflected in his agony. Greatness twisted into spectacle, legacy drowned in the scream of a man whose life was melted away drop by drop beneath the gaze of gods and men. A mother once cherished in the quiet shadow of her Roman home is now wrenched from memory and mercy alike. Chains gnaw at her wrists as she is dragged across the cold marble, the jeers of the crowd reverberating like thunder against the stone. The air is thick with incense and sweat, the scent of blood, not yet spent torches, casting monstrous shadows across the judgment hall. Here, beneath the indifferent eyes of Rome, dignity is a currency long spent. She remembers the softness of her child's hand, the warmth of laughter at dusk. Now the only sound is the echo of her own sobs, swallowed by the roar of strangers. Her feet stumble on the mosaic, once a sign of culture, now slick with humiliation and fear. Mithridates stands above robes, heavy with authority, voice cold as iron. Her pleas for mercy have faded, negotiation has withered to dust. Sentence falls, execution by the most grotesque mockery, a punishment carved from the victim's supposed sin. Iron binds her mouth open. The executioner approaches, cradling a crucible alive with liquid gold, brighter than fire, more merciless than the crowd. Her eyes, wide and glistening with memory, search the faces, searching for mercy, but there is none here. Only spectacle, only the taste of fate. The gold is poured. At first there is a sound like meat searing in a pan. Pain blazes white through her lips, gums and tongue nerves shrieking as her flesh is scalded, blackening in an instant. The liquid burns through her mouth, sizzling against the soft palate, eating downward with pitiless heat. She tries to scream, but her voice is torn away, her airways seared shut, her throat swelling and charred, her agony muffled to a bubbling gurgle. The hall is filled with a new scent, burning skin and vaporized flesh. Smoke coils up, swirling around torchlight. The gold tunnels downward, carving a path of ruin, destroying, cauterizing, making a woman into a ruin. Inside her throat, the molten metal meets saliva, blood, anything wet. Steam explodes outward, bursting veins and tearing open the passageways that once carried lullabies. Her vision fractures. Pain and heat and terror become the sum of her existence, every memory drowned beneath the tide of agony. The marble columns are deaf. The crowd is insatiable. The world shrinks to fire, to suffocation, to the last beating of a mother's heart. In the end, her legacy is neither wealth nor crime, but the image of love destroyed by cruelty. The stones remember her suffering, and beneath the ancient courts of Rome, the echo of a mother's agony warns, when justice is only vengeance, there are no innocents, only the ruined and those who cheer their ruin. Picture the scene. A woman once wrapped in the warmth of her home, now dragged beneath the pitiless arches of Roman justice. Cold marble columns rear up around her, torches flicker along endless stone corridors, and every step echoes with the jeers of strangers and the clatter of chains biting into her wrists. The air reeks of incense, sweat, and coming death. She remembers for a moment a child's laughter, a hand in hers, but now her hands are bound and trembling. Her dignity is not merely stripped but trampled, her strength mocked by the ritual that will consume her. She is forced to her knees before the tribunal, pale faces leering down, their eyes hollow with the thrill of sanctioned cruelty. The executioners approach, their hands gloved in soot, carrying the vessel that glows with molten gold, its heat throbbing in the gloom, a sun born only for her ruin. Her heart pounds not with hope but with terror's certainty. She sees her reflection broken and wavering on the surface of that gilded death. They force her mouth open. The gold, shimmering and furious, is poured inside. Pain detonates behind her eyes, a fire more searing than any punishment she ever feared. Her larynx, flesh and muscle, snaps and pops like meat. Dropped in oil, the sound drowned only by the crowd's gasp. She cannot scream. The gold burns its way through her throat, melting every cry into silence, every plea into agony. She tastes death, metallic, blistering, absolute. In her mind's eye, for one desperate instant, she sees her child's face. Then the world erupts in darkness and pain. Within moments, the heat ravages her veins, arteries burst, steam explodes from her flesh. The agony is short, but the horror endures, skin-blackening face, unrecognizable as the molten gold carves its way through jaw, windpipe, chest. Her body shudders, the echo of a child's cry lost beneath the mob's awe and the hiss of boiling fat. She is no longer a mother, no longer a person, but a spectacle. Her memory rewritten in terror and humiliation, her legacy nothing but a warning to others. Even in death, there is no peace. The day after the execution, another shadow stoops to her corpse, hands sifting through burnt flesh and shattered bone, searching for the gold now cooled, congealed inside the carbonized ruins of her organs. The value of her agony is measured and weighed, a grotesque currency to be paid out for blood and war. Centuries later, her story is reduced to a relic, an art piece, a rumor in the dust of history. But the truth is not orderly, not contained. The reality is far messier, explosive, violent, irreversible. Each fragment of gold must be pried from charred tissue, torn free from the body that was once a woman, once a mother, now nothing but a vessel for pain and greed. Picture her, if you dare, love transfigured into suffering dignity, devoured by fire. The stones remember what the world forgets. And in every echoing vault of Rome, beneath the gilded pride of empire, there lingers the burnt shadow of a mother's scream. The marble halls of Rome are cold and unforgiving, their ancient stones echoing with the clatter of iron and the hiss of torches guttering in stale air. A mother who once nursed children in gentle shadow now stumbles beneath the weight of her own chains. Her wrists bleed where metal bites her bare feet, slip on the polished floor, the scent of blood and incense thick in her nostrils. She remembers softer mornings, the hush of a child's breath, the warmth of sunlight on her skin. That life has vanished, crushed by the verdict of Rome. The crowd is merciless, their jeers are knives, each insult slicing deeper than any lash. She walks with head high, not in defiance, but in memory of dignity. But memory is no shield. Her past cannot protect her now. Eyes follow her with a hunger for suffering, the masses eager for the lesson that power will deliver. The air is thick with the stink of sweat, fear, and anticipation. Every step draws her closer to the place of judgment, the heart of Roman cruelty, where justice is a beast that feeds on agony. Her tormentors care little for the details of her guilt. The sentence matters more than the story. Rome demands a spectacle. The tribunal sits high, and remote faces chiseled from the same cold marble as the pillars that hold the roof aloft. The mother is forced to her knees. The clang of chains on stone resounds in the chamber, a drumbeat of doom. She feels the eyes of strangers and the gods alike, all witnessing her unraveling. Please." Her voice cracks, barely human, but the words are smothered by the crowd's roar. Hands seize her, twisting her arms until her bones cry out. Torches flare, shadows leap across the walls, and the taste of blood fills her mouth. Pain becomes her universe pain, and the memory of what she has lost. In these final moments, the mother's mind fractures images of her children's faces, flicker behind her eyes, radiant and unreachable. Her body is nothing but raw nerve, exposed to the fire of public hatred and the cold indifference of Rome. The stones beneath her knees are slick, the smell of iron and terror mixing in her lungs. Somewhere a child weeps, or perhaps it is only the echo of her own soul breaking. She is dragged, humiliated to her fate. A sentence pronounced, a punishment delivered, a life destroyed. The mother who once gave life now meets her end alone. Her dignity stripped away, her love unanswered in the face of relentless ritual violence. This is how Rome asserts its order, by turning mothers into warnings, their suffering a monument more enduring than marble. And as the torches sputter out and the mob disperses, her agony lingers in the stone, a chilling testament to the brutality that lives just beneath the skin of civilization. Listen closely, and you may still hear the echo, a mother's final cry lost amid the marble and the darkness, reminding us that no society is ever far from cruelty. A mother once cherished in the hush of a Roman villa now shuffles through marble corridors beneath the weight of iron. Chains grind her wrists, cold links gnawing to the bone as jeers ricochet off the columns. The air is thick with incense and sweat. Her feet leave smeared, bloody tracks across the stone, a scarlet trail from dignity to oblivion. Every flicker of torchlight reveals the hollow in her cheeks, the pale tremor of her lips, and the memory of a child's hand slipping from her own, lost forever in the storm of fate. She remembers warmth, the laughter of her son echoing in shaded gardens, the smell of bread, the gentle hush of evening. Now that tenderness curdles inside her, a torment sharper than any lash. In this pitiless court, the robed judges are shadows carved of marble, their eyes pitiless, their voices distant as gods. She stands alone in the glare, stripped of comfort, forced to face her sentence while strangers murmur and sneer. Her heart pounds, a frightened animal caged within her ribs as the sentence is declared. Her world collapses into sound, the crowd's delighted roar, the clank of chains, her own stifled sob. Dragged down stone steps into the darkness, her body shakes in spasms, cold sweat beading her brow, muscles knotting with dread. The cell reeks of old blood and mold, air barely stirring. Somewhere a child's cry is swallowed by shadows, the echo twisting through corridors like a ghost. Her strength falters. Pain flowers in her throat, a molten ache that consumes her words. Each breath brings agony, each swallow a burn. She endures, awake to every humiliation, fingers gripping the dirty straw, the taste of iron on her tongue, the knowledge that hope has slipped away. Her identity unravels with every shiver, every glance at bruised, battered hands once meant for comfort. A mother in name only, she is now spectacle, an object lesson, her suffering transformed into a tool of order, her pain a story for others to relish or forget. When the end comes, it is quiet but unsparing. Spasms twist her body, her cries barely human echo against the cell walls, then fade into silence. And when the guards return, they find only a shell, her body, rigid lips frozen in a final wordless prayer. So ends her torment, not with justice, but with obliteration. In the marble halls above the crowd disperses voices already fading. Yet the stones remember. The air, heavy with her loss, will forever hold the ghost of her agony, a warning that in Rome mercy is as fragile and rare as love itself.